Have you ever paused in the middle of your day and wondered, was that really just a coincidence? Perhaps you ran into an old friend on the very day you needed comfort. Or maybe a mentor appeared at a crossroads in your career, offering wisdom just when you were about to give up. At first glance, these encounters seem accidental, the random crossing of paths in a chaotic world. Yet if you look closely, if you dare to step beneath the surface, you begin to suspect that something more mysterious is at play. The question is ancient and deeply human. Do you believe that some people arrive in your life not by accident, but with purpose? From love to friendship, from business alliances to fleeting conversations with strangers on airplanes, certain meetings change the course of our lives. They alter our perspectives, redirect our paths, and sometimes, they even save us. What makes these encounters so striking is not just their timing, but the uncanny sense of meaning they carry. It feels as if the universe itself has leaned in, whispered, and nudged someone into your story. Carl Jung, the great Swiss psychologist, did not dismiss this sense of wonder as superstition. He refused to explain away these moments as chance. Instead, he gave them a name: synchronicity. For Jung, synchronicity described those rare but undeniable experiences when our inner world aligns with outer events so perfectly that it almost feels orchestrated. He called them meaningful coincidences. And he insisted that they were not random. They were reflections of the unconscious at work, your psyche sending signals into the world, drawing toward you the very people and circumstances you need for your growth. Think about it. You're lost in thought about someone you haven't seen in years. And suddenly your phone rings, it's them. Or you walk into a room full of strangers and feel an instant recognition with one person, as if you've known them your whole life. These experiences defy logic, yet they touch something ancient in us. Jung would say, these are not accidents, these are messages. They are mirrors held up by the universe, reflecting back the lessons you are ready, or reluctant, to learn. Buddhism, in its own way, affirms this truth. The Buddha taught that every encounter is conditioned by causes and conditions, by karmic threads stretching far beyond our current comprehension. In the Buddhist view, no meeting is random, each is an opportunity for awakening. Sometimes the person appears as a teacher, sometimes as a mirror of your shadow, sometimes as a reminder of your forgotten strength. Consider how this plays out in the lives of people we admire. Steve Jobs often spoke of how meeting his teacher, the Zen master Kobun Chino, profoundly influenced not only his meditation practice but his vision for Apple. That chance meeting brought a spiritual depth to his creativity, reminding him that design was not just about function but about human experience. Or think of Winston Churchill during the darkest days of World War II. His encounters with Franklin Roosevelt were not mere diplomatic necessities, they were synchronistic moments where two men, continents apart, became aligned in purpose, altering the fate of nations. When synchronicity strikes, it feels like the universe is winking at you. It is not shouting, but nudging, reminding you that life is not just mechanical cause and effect. Something deeper is unfolding, something intimately tied to your inner journey. And here is the paradox. Most of us rush past these moments. We dismiss them as weird coincidences, or bury them under the noise of everyday life. We scroll, we distract ourselves, we rationalize, because the idea that the unconscious might be shaping our external world feels too unsettling. But Jung's insight, and the Buddha's teaching, challenge us to stop, to look closer, and to ask, what is this moment trying to teach me? Why did this person show up in my life right now? On this channel, Dharma Veins, we explore questions exactly like this, not as abstract philosophy, but as living truths you can see in your relationships, your decisions, and your path of growth. Because when you begin to notice synchronicity, the world itself starts to look different. Encounters no longer feel random. The stranger becomes a teacher. The timing becomes a message. And your life begins to feel less like a series of accidents and more like a coherent journey. Let me give you an image. Imagine standing in a dark forest at night, unsure where to go. Suddenly, fireflies begin to flicker, one after another, forming a subtle path ahead. That is what synchronicity feels like. The lights are small, but they are enough to guide you forward. The people who appear in your life at just the right moment, they are those fireflies. Ignore them, and you stumble in the dark. Notice them, and you begin to see the outline of your destiny. So, Let us look deeper into this phenomenon. What does it mean when you think of someone, and the next day they reach out? What should you make of that stranger who listens to you more deeply in 5 minutes than your friends have in 5 years? Jung would say, these are signs that your unconscious and the outer world are in conversation. These people have arrived for a reason. They are not random faces passing by. They are catalysts. And the truth is, you don't have to believe in magic to see the power of synchronicity. You only have to be willing to notice. The right people arrive when you are ready to learn, to grow, or to awaken a part of yourself you have ignored. Sometimes they stay for years. Sometimes only for a moment. But each one leaves an imprint. And each one reshapes the way you walk your path. The next time you feel that strange pull, that sense of, this is not just coincidence. Pause. Ask yourself, what part of me called this person here? What is the lesson I am being invited to see? Because as Jung taught, and as the Buddha affirmed, the universe does not waste encounters. Every meeting has meaning. The question is whether you are awake enough to recognize it. 1. The mirror of relationships, real versus false connections. Carl Jung often emphasized that relationships are never accidents, they are mirrors. Each person who enters your life reflects something about your inner world, your hidden fears, your unspoken longings, or the untapped parts of your potential. If you pay close attention, you'll see that every bond either becomes a teacher or a distraction. A false connection is one where you must constantly shrink to fit. You silence your voice, disguise your true opinions, or betray your values just to maintain closeness. It may look like harmony on the surface, but inside it breeds quiet suffocation. Consider powerful figures like Richard Nixon, surrounded by advisors who told him what he wanted to hear rather than what he needed to hear. That echo chamber was a false relationship, one that reinforced insecurity instead of encouraging growth. It gave him temporary survival but ultimately led to downfall. A real connection, in contrast, does the opposite. It doesn't demand that you amputate parts of yourself to be accepted. It allows you to expand. Think of Nelson Mandela's friendships during his imprisonment on Robben Island. Even in chains, he gravitated toward people who respected his dignity, who challenged him intellectually, who helped him preserve his authenticity. Those were not relationships of convenience. They were mirrors reflecting back his inner strength and magnifying it. Jung called this process individuation, the lifelong journey of becoming a whole, authentic self. In genuine relationships, individuation is not threatened, it is accelerated. The right people will not require you to wear a mask. They will hold up a mirror that shows you who you already are and encourage you to keep growing into that truth. The test is simple. Ask yourself after each encounter, did I feel smaller? Or did I feel more alive? If you consistently leave someone's presence feeling diminished, you are not in a relationship, you are in a performance. But if you leave feeling free, steady, and seen, then you are on the path of individuation, guided by a mirror that reflects not your wounds, but your wholeness. 2. The body speaks before the mind. In both Jungian psychology and Buddhist insight, the body is not a passive shell, it is an oracle. Long before the intellect rationalizes, the body signals whether a relationship aligns with your inner truth. When you are entangled in a misaligned connection, the nervous system goes into survival mode. You may feel an inexplicable heaviness in your chest, a restless anxiety before even seeing the person, or the kind of fatigue that no amount of sleep can cure. These are not random symptoms. They are the body's way of whispering, this bond drains you. History offers us vivid illustrations. Think of Princess Diana, who spoke openly about her insomnia and physical distress during the years she lived in a marriage that stifled her. Her body revealed the truth long before the world recognized it. By contrast, when you are with the right person, whether a mentor, a partner, or even a close friend, your entire physiology relaxes, your breath becomes deeper, your shoulders drop, your sleep restores you instead of tormenting you. You feel lighter, as though life itself expands in their presence. Consider how Barack Obama often described the influence of Michelle Obama in his life. He credited her with grounding him, giving him balance and ease even amidst the storms of political life. That sense of inner calm is the body's unmistakable signal of alignment. The Buddhist tradition teaches that the body and mind are not separate. When the nervous system is at ease, clarity arises naturally. Jung echoed this truth when he insisted that the unconscious communicates through symbols. Dreams, And, most directly, through the body. If your chest tightens every time you approach someone, the message is clear. No rationalization can erase that red flag. If, instead, your breath flows freely and sleep comes peacefully, you have likely found a bond that supports your individuation rather than obstructs it. The lesson is simple yet profound. The nervous system never lies. Your body carries wisdom your conscious mind may resist. To ignore it is to choose illusion. To honor it is to step closer to freedom. 3. The truth about loneliness. Modern society conditions us to equate loneliness with failure. We are told that if you are alone, you must be unwanted, unloved, or somehow incomplete. That narrative pushes people to chase connection at any cost, even when it erodes their authenticity. Jung, however, saw solitude in an entirely different light. For him, being alone was not a punishment but a sacred interval, a pause in which the inner voice can finally be heard. It is in solitude that the masks drop, the noise quiets, and the psyche begins to reveal its unfiltered truth. Buddhism echoes this perspective. The forest monk retreats into silence not to escape the world but to cultivate clarity. Public figures have modeled this in striking ways. Take Abraham Lincoln, who endured stretches of profound solitude during the Civil War. His closest aides wrote about the long hours he spent in silence. Walking alone at night, far from weakness, those hours became the crucible where he forged resilience and vision. Or look at Steve Jobs after being ousted from Apple. During that period of enforced aloneness, he recalibrated his creativity, later returning to revolutionize not only his company but entire industries. The essential question, then, is not whether you are alone but why you seek to avoid it. Are you longing for someone to truly love you, or hoping someone will rescue you from facing yourself? Buddhism warns that unless you can sit comfortably in your own company, every relationship will become a form of escape. Jung would agree. Until you make peace with solitude, you will mistake need for love and dependency for connection. Loneliness becomes sacred when it is embraced as a path toward inner wholeness. It is the stillness in which you stop begging the world to complete you and start realizing you were never incomplete. In that silence, the search for a savior fades, and the possibility of authentic love begins. 4. Projection, the repetition cycle. In Jungian psychology, projection is one of the most subtle yet powerful forces shaping human relationships. When wounds remain unhealed, we unconsciously attract people who mirror those very wounds back to us. What we believe deep inside becomes the lens through which we see the world, and the magnet that draws certain individuals into our orbit. If a person secretly believes, "I am not good enough," they will almost inevitably find themselves in relationships that reinforce this conviction. They may fall in love with partners who dismiss their worth, seek approval from mentors who never give it, or remain loyal to leaders who exploit their loyalty. History is full of such patterns. Consider Marilyn Monroe. Despite global fame, she carried profound feelings of abandonment from childhood. Again and again, she was drawn to men who confirmed her deepest fear, that she was not truly lovable. Her tragedy illustrates Jung's point that the unconscious relentlessly repeats until it is made conscious. The solution is not to keep searching for someone who will finally erase those doubts. It is to confront the doubts themselves. Healing begins when projection is recognized for what it is, the externalization of inner beliefs. This is why Jung and the Buddha both insisted on self-awareness as the foundation for liberation. The Buddha taught that unless you uproot craving and delusion within, the same suffering will reappear in different forms. Jung said it in psychological terms, until you make the unconscious conscious. It will direct your life and you will call it fate. Notice how powerful leaders who have done inner work often break the cycle. Oprah Winfrey, for instance, grew up in hardship marked by neglect and abuse. Yet through years of self-reflection and therapy, she refused to let those early projections dictate her adult relationships. Instead of replaying abandonment, she built connections based on respect, generosity, and shared purpose. She shows that healing does not merely improve relationships, it transforms the quality of people you attract in the first place. The principle is clear. Healing does not come after love, it comes before love. Unless you recognize and release the projections rooted in your wounds, you will mistake repetition for destiny. But once you begin to heal, the cycle breaks. What once attracted pain now attracts peace. What once reinforced unworthiness now affirms your wholeness. Only then does love stop being a desperate search for validation and become what it was always meant to be: the meeting of two whole human beings. 5. The metaphor of two doors. Jung described one of the greatest human dilemmas through a simple metaphor: two doors. Behind the first door lies the familiar. It feels safe, predictable, and comfortable because you've walked through it countless times. Yet that door also hides repetition, the same frustrations, the same heartbreaks, the same patterns of suffering. It is the door of survival, not transformation. The second door is different. It feels foreign under your hand, almost frightening. Behind it lies uncertainty, risk, and the terrifying possibility of change. And yet, it is only through this door that freedom and authentic connection can be found. Buddhism calls this step leaving samsara, the courage to abandon the wheel of endless repetition and step into the unknown path of awakening. Leaders throughout history have faced these two doors. Think of Mahatma Gandhi. Remaining a British-trained lawyer would have been the first door: respectable, predictable, safe. But when he chose the second door, civil resistance rooted in truth, he faced prison, ridicule, and even the threat of death. That risk opened the path to liberating millions. Or take Eleanor Roosevelt, who could have stayed in the shadow of her husband, repeating the traditional role of First Lady. Instead, she walked through the second door by championing human rights and shaping the United Nations, stepping into an unfamiliar space that defined her legacy. The question each of us must ask is the same: do I cling to the door of comfort, knowing it repeats the pain I already know? Or do I risk opening the door of uncertainty, with all its fear, but also its potential to transform my life? Jung warned that most people tragically choose the first door, preferring the prison of the familiar to the risk of growth. Buddhism frames it as attachment, our unwillingness to release what is known, even when it causes suffering. The challenge is clear. The second door is the only one that leads to freedom. To reach it requires courage, faith, and a willingness to step into the unknown. The choice will never feel easy, but it is the only path that allows you to break cycles and discover a connection that is real. 6. Intuition, the quiet whisper. Reason is skilled at building elaborate justifications. It tells us why we should stay in a relationship that drains us, why we should tolerate disrespect, why we should keep trying even when our spirit is breaking. Intuition, however, speaks in a different tone. It does not argue, it whispers. And that whisper often carries the deepest truth of the psyche. Jung called intuition the language of the unconscious. Buddhism describes it as prajna, a direct knowing that arises when the mind is quiet and unclouded. Both traditions warn that when we ignore this voice, we mistake attachment for love and survival for connection. The difference between false and true bonds is not found in drama but in how your nervous system responds. The wrong person feels like a battlefield. You're constantly on guard, editing your words, strategizing to avoid conflict. The right person feels like home. There is ease, clarity, and a sense of being allowed to simply be. We see this in the lives of leaders. Take Franklin D. Roosevelt. His political genius was undeniable. But even he admitted that his marriage to Eleanor was the anchor that gave him stability and calm. While the world saw only the battlefield of politics, his intuition recognized in her a presence that felt like home. Or think of Nelson Mandela, who endured decades of struggle. When he spoke about Winnie in his earlier years and later about Graca Machel, he emphasized not the intensity of passion but the peace of companionship, the sense that love should not demand he betray his essence. The truth is simple. Real love never requires you to abandon yourself. If you feel at home, if your intuition hums with quiet assurance rather than screams with alarm, then you are in the presence of something authentic. The battlefield belongs to ego and fear. The feeling of home belongs to love. When we reach the heart of Jung's teaching, the message is clear. You cannot attract what you are not yet ready to hold. If there are wounds inside you still left untended, every relationship will circle back to those wounds. But when you commit to healing, when you become whole, steady, and at peace, you no longer chase love out of desperation. Instead, love recognizes you. The right person arrives not as a rescuer but as someone who feels like coming home. This is not just psychological truth, it is deeply spiritual. The Buddha reminded us that everything we seek outside is first cultivated within. Love, like compassion, is not something to beg for, it is something you embody. And when you embody it, the world reflects it back to you. So I want to leave you with a blessing, offered in the spirit of the Dharma. May all beings who suffer from loneliness discover the love already within them. May those enduring the tragedies of war, natural disaster, and despair find shelter in compassion. May the light of wisdom guide us. And may peace, like a quiet river, flow into every heart. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever met the right person at the right time? What was the sign, the feeling, the moment that told you they were meant to be there? Share your story in the comments. Your words might be the firefly that lights the way for someone else. And if this message resonated with you, I invite you to subscribe to Dharma Veins. Here we walk together on the path of healing and truth, where psychology and Buddhist wisdom meet to illuminate the journey within. Because remember, when you become love itself, you will never again need to chase it. Love will find its way back to you, like a home you were destined to return to.